Welcome to 4,000 Weeks, the weekly audio dispatch from 4kweeks.com. I am Spencer. What are we doing here today? You are listening to me pontificate about how to get the most out of my 4,000 weeks, how I plan to get the most out of my 4,000 weeks and the struggles and successes I've had along that journey, hoping that you can glean a teensy bit of your own bit of information from this podcast. I don't know. I often feel like when I'm listening to podcasts, sometimes I slip into consumption mode and out of learning mode. So I hope when you're listening to this podcast, you are not just listening to the crap I say, but you are thinking about whether you agree or disagree and how it applies in your life. Anyway, that is a digression. It is week 37, I believe. Is it week 37 of 2025? It is. The dad joke of the week. Here's the setup. Ready? I told my friend 10 puns to make him laugh. I told my friend 10 puns to make him laugh. All right, week 37 of 2025 has arrived. We are sliding into fall. It is jeans weather, and we are starting to internalize the exhausting routine of 5 days of school every single day of the week for two kids in two different schools that start about the same time. Good Lord. I know, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we have just started this experiment of school. We did homeschool for a lot of years, and it's exhausting. It is exhausting. And maybe we'll catch up, but I slept in till 8:30 and 9 o'clock yesterday and today, Saturday and Sunday, just to kind of try to recover. It's time for you to walk over to your 4K Weeks poster and fill in another square. Are you done? Okay. I just think it would be awesome if we could normalize kids going to school 3 days a week. And I understand, I was actually telling this to my son as I drove him to school this week. He was lamenting the every day, all day of it. And I was saying, well, the reason that we do that is because the parents had to be at work too. The Industrial Revolution, right? We needed kids, we needed workers in the factories, and then we needed someplace for the kids to be all day long, as opposed to helping out on the farm or, running amok in the fields. And so we sent the kids to school for, coincidentally, almost exactly the same amount of time and schedule as the parents are in the office. Interesting. And he was like, oh, that means it's for chumps. And I was like, yeah, maybe, but it's important to remember that we all have to learn to do things that we don't want to do so that we can do the things that we do want to do. I don't know. It was an interesting conversation. It's just so nonstop. It's like the hits keep coming. It's like the ocean when you get knocked over by a wave and then three more waves come. That's how it feels. Anyway, that's enough complaining for me this morning. If you like this podcast, rate it, review it, whatever. Do the things that say that you like it, I guess. That'd be cool. I mean, maybe there's 30 of you out there listening, and I guess I'd still make it for you 30. But, if it was 60, that'd be cool. Actually, it's more than that, but I don't know. It's kind of normalized in the last few months. It was on the upward trend, and it's kind of flattened out over the last few months. I have no idea why. I'm not doing anything differently. I don't know if it's an algorithm thing. I kind of care a little bit, but I also don't care a lot of it. But it's interesting. I do know that if you like it, rate it, review it, there's more chance that people like you will find it. On week 35 of 1961, Jack Kilby demonstrated the first integrated circuit to his supervisor, marking a new era in electronics. He was 1,814 weeks old, or 34.86 years. That's crazy if you think about what an integrated circuit means. You couldn't do your day. You couldn't get to your job without an integrated circuit. I mean, you probably these days couldn't even use your coffee maker if suddenly the integrated circuits were disappeared from the earth. And that's just 1961. How many years ago was that? Let's see. 61 to 2000 is 39 plus 25. What's 39 plus 25? 50, 64? Is it 64 years ago? I think that's close to right. That's insane. Welcome to the future. You live in a science fiction novel. I was thinking that a lot about thinking about that a lot as my arm has been, getting back to normal. Well, that's not true. It's not anywhere near back to normal. As I was thankful for the fact that it wasn't amputated, or that my career wasn't over because of this break, I have been thinking a lot about how we live in the future. We live in the most fascinating, amazing age, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like when my kids are my age, based on the rate of change. And, add 30 years. Wow. Hopefully it's awesome. Quote of the week. The quote of the week is from Gandhi. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And I think a lot about the idea of pulling in the same direction. I think it comes from my good buddy was talking about before we got, all got married and had kids when we were just in our mid-20s. He said, we were talking about it, the future. And he was like, I just want to find someone and we can both pull in the same direction, right? In a shared mission. I think, like athletes who are training for a high level sport, they spend hours and hours making sure that they are not wasting any energy on some tiny bit of the mechanics that is out of line, right? They'll spend hours making sure that their foot mechanics are perfect if they're a sprinter. If they're a jumper, everything has to be just perfect. And they'll spend hours on a part of the technique that you and I don't even know exists, because there's some kind of 1 + 1 = 4 math that happens when everything and everybody is pulling in the same direction. And in fact, any one thing that is slightly out of line, sucks energy out of the train that's going forward. And this is also true in your personal relationships. It's hard enough to get somewhere, to get anywhere, frankly, when everyone has decided on the goal. That's hard when we've all decided on the goal. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that you can't control that will try to derail you. But it is nearly impossible to get somewhere if you and your partner are headed in different directions. And even if they're just slightly different directions, right? At first, let's just say you're each 2% differently directed. It seems pretty similar at the beginning, right? But then as you get further along, you guys get farther and farther apart, and you're pulling in two totally separate directions. And because of that, I think because of that truth, and I think that's a truth, that's like a law of nature, that if anything is not pulling in the same direction, things go off the rails pretty quickly. And so it makes perfect sense that there is a sense of calm and contentedness internally. And we probably recognize this as happiness when what we think and what we say and what we do are all pulling in the same direction. That's probably the closest to nirvana a waking human can feel. And so I think that's the positive, that's the affirmative version of this. And then the negative, it's not negative version, but that's the proof of success. The proof of potential failure is this. If you notice a little bit of tug, a little bit of tension, when you say something that isn't in line with who you are, or you do something that isn't in line with who you are, you should pay attention, because that's a waste of energy that is pulling you away from your best self. And this is really hard to dial in and tune into, especially for those of us who are really go, 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 go all the time. I don't know about you, but my mind never stops thinking and turning and striving and conniving and creating and planning and wondering about what's going to happen, what I'm going to do. And in that mental landscape, it's very difficult to notice those little slight bits of inefficiency, let's call it, right, in your actions or your thoughts or your words. And that is very important to kind of be able to quiet your mind and pay attention to. And there's been a very real, a very large and real and personal and professional dilemma. Dilemma is the right word. I don't know, that I've been kind of going through and thinking about with my wife with regard to one of our businesses. And, because things get complicated, right? You have all these wants and hopes and dreams, and the devil, if we're going to just go back to, ancient religious metaphors, right? When the devil tempts, Jesus, on the mountaintop. Is that true? I think that's the way it is. He offers him all of the power and glory and all the kingdoms of the world, right? But that's a very generic kind of temptation. And I think we each have, like, I could create a perfect situation that is like designed to tempt you. And then I'll just throw in one little wrinkle that is actually fundamentally opposed to who you are, who you say you are, but with all of the professional accolades and financial accolades and all of the everything that you hope and dream, but just one little tiny little thing. It's, it's no big deal. It's probably no big deal because, it's difficult for a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. So just take this deal, right? It's a good deal. And if you're paying attention, it's like, oh, but this one part of it, this one little thing. And in fact, it's the one little thing that's the only thing, because none of the rest of it matters, right? All the rest of it is ego or fear or whatever. And so this quote is like been a part of my life lately. The fundamental lesson here, which is that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. And that doesn't mean that you don't grieve not taking a path, right? Because a path can be 99% awesome and 1% out of harmony with what you think, what you say, and what you do. And so it's okay to grieve that path, but it's not the right path if it's out of alignment with your integrity. Anyway, that's the quote of the week. What I consumed this week, okay, again, Stand Out of Our Light, right? It's a spectacular book about attention. Attention is the most important natural resource in the world right now and will only get more important as the media landscape changes and as artificial intelligence takes over more of our lives. This book is the result of the 9 Dots Prize. You can read about it all in the email. It's by James Williams. You should read it. It's almost as if it's the gold rush. Attention is the modern gold rush. Right. And so if you don't know why people are moving to San Francisco or whatever to dig this shiny metal out of the ground, you should start paying attention, because right now they're digging in your brain for it and in your life for it. And they're mining your attention for profit. And so if you aren't aware of that, then you are the tool. Okay. The Magicians. Gosh, dang it. I finished book 2 and book 3 of this trilogy this week. I'm so sad it's over. The last one's called The Magician's Land. I just feel like a good fiction book for you, right? Because we all have our own opinion of what's good. You might not think that the Magician's trilogy is good, but it just makes me remember that there is magic in the world. And that is so freaking important. So important. I mean, I'm a creative person who owns a business built on my creativity and my skill artistically. And I often forget that this world is magical, and that is not good. So whenever I can be reminded of that, it's worth its weight in gold. Podcast this week, The Gray Area with Sean Illing, Illing, I-L-L-I-N-G. This one is called Imagine There's No Billionaires. He has this conversation with a woman. I don't know. She's from one of the, I think she's from Norway. One of those countries. That's the most American thing I've said all week. One of those countries, where they have all the free stuff for all the people and they take care of people. Socialists. Dirty socialists. Oh, I hope you got that. It's a really interesting interview. At the beginning, he starts with this quote, "Every billionaire is a policy failure." And, I've said before that billionaires shouldn't exist. And her personal wealth limit, she has this philosophy called limitarianism, where the overall wealth of everyone should be limited to a certain number, because it is actually that much aggregation of wealth in few hands is bad for us. It is bad for humans. It is bad for the world. And governments exist to make things good for all of us, right? That's the point of a government, is to create a system in which the most of us can flourish. And so, the individualism and stuff, the glory given to billionaires for, reaching the penultimate of capitalistic success in the United States is detrimental to the 99.9% of humans who are not billionaires. It's a very interesting conversation. Her personal wealth limit is much lower than mine, right? Much lower than mine. But the argument still holds. And then there's a link in there that's a link in there that really spoke to me as I've been thinking about it's a social media link. This guy, I think he builds cars, and he's just sitting there kind of talking. It's just a clip. It's not even it ends in a sentence fragment, because the meat of it was just kind of spur of the moment. I'll give you a little bit of it. He's like, I'm getting older and this stuff has to count. Like, he's thinking about his legacy, right? And he says, I don't want to do basic shit. And I mean, I feel that so much right now at 40. Am I 48? I think I'm 40. I'm 47 or 48. I think I'm 48. Yep. 48. And the clock is ticking. It's been ticking for the last 48 years, but I only really notice it now as I think, well, if I'm lucky, if I live to be as old as my dad, I only have 40 years left. Now, hopefully I live longer than that, but that's only 40 years. I don't want to do anything basic anymore. I want to make awesome things. I want to do awesome stuff. I don't want to watch someone. I don't want to do basic shit. And you shouldn't want to do it either. Life is just too short. And I know that you and I have different definitions of what is and isn't basic. Actually, no, we don't. We might have different definitions of what is worth for you or for me doing, but you and I would both recognize if either one of us was doing some not basic shit. Because I'd be like, wow, that's not my thing, but that's awesome. And that's a legacy that can be left, that can be proud of. You can be proud of when you leave it behind. And that's, man, I can't tell you how much I feel that. I don't want to sit here and do nothing for even 5 minutes. And it's hard to, just like it's hard to hold a muscle contraction. I don't know if you've ever, if you lift weights and it's like your muscle fatigues and you just can't keep it contracted anymore, right? It's hard to embody that high level of action all the time, but like it needs to be a baseline that we snap back to, because you're going to die. I'm going to die. We're going to die. And I don't know if we ever get to be human again. And I don't know if it's as fulfilling to be stardust or particles in the universe as it is to be this collection of particles. And so you better get to it. We better get to it. I better get to it. Man, that's the best distillation of 4K weeks that I've said in a long time. What I am thinking about this week. So I'm thinking about the two most important things that I have learned over the last couple of weeks. We have been interviewing for a job at the studio, the sculpture studio, my wife and I. And I'll probably be talking about the results of that and everything more in the weeks and months to come. But for now, I just want to talk to you about two things I have noticed. And this, this may be for the younger of you, but we're all on our own journey. And so that's probably ageist or prejudicial or something. And so maybe anyone who's trying to do something and needs the attention of other people in order to be able to get started. How about that? I've seen around 120 applications for this job that we have put up. It's not for 4K weeks. It's for the sculpture studio. And I mentioned twice in the job description. So the job description is really well written. Really well written. It is an exciting job description. It talks it kind of has this tone where it's like, come on, we want to do something, right? Because that's just how I am. And that's what I'm looking for. And so I mentioned twice in that job description, right in the middle and right at the end, don't just send me your resume. That sentence is in the job description twice. And when something is in instructions twice, you had better pay attention to it. And almost every single person did exactly that and just sent me their resume. And as Liz Lemon used to say in 30 Rock, blurg. It's so, when I see this resume and I'm like, oh, wow, these are qualified here. Oh, those are pretty good, jobs that they've done right there. And then it's nothing. It's just the resume. I'm like, come on. I said it twice. And then some of the people sent a cover letter. Okay, right. But some of the cover letters were clearly the same cover letter they had sent to 50 other people with just our name substituted in, and sometimes not even. Dear hiring manager, come on. do a teensy bit of research. If someone with no relevant experience, because the platform we were using, they show you 2 check marks. You're like, these are the 2 skills I need, and here are the skills I might like. If you have those things, it shows you a check mark for those things. But pretty quickly I stopped paying attention to that, because if somebody with no relevant experience had sent me their resume and also a 30-second video saying how excited they were to apply, they would have gotten an interview in a heartbeat. And we only interviewed 4 people. It's crazy to me. It's so easy to follow directions. And it is such a clear and relevant data point when you don't. And I mean, if I'm going to try to be charitable, no one wants to look stupid. And of course, I suppose most job applications are looking for the boring standard pace, right? Like, I got to be honest, most job applications are probably it would be weird if you sent in a 30-second video or a 5-second or something other than, I would have taken anything. That was just my idea. Most job applications are not looking for that and would be like, oh God, why'd they do this? They're not going to fit in here at our boring place. But I think more often than not, everyone is so worried about looking stupid or standing out in the wrong way that they just blend into the basic, boring everybody. And then there's a link in the email where I shared it with my kids this morning that embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. So go make a fool of yourself is what they say in this, and you can see it in the email. But I mean, I think risking being embarrassed is how almost every awesome thing started. Nobody built something awesome. No one has looked at a thing and been like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Unless the person who started it was a little nervous about being embarrassed at first. Because awesome things are weird, and weird things often get ridiculed at first. So if I'm being charitable, I'd say, well, of course, these people didn't want to be embarrassed. But in fact, the only people who got interviews did something to be like, I'm a real human with a real personality and interests of my own, right? And that's all it took. So that's the first thing. Follow directions and just put yourself out there a little bit. Just a teensy bit. Putting yourself out there just a teensy bit differentiates yourself from everybody. Okay. Next thing, the second thing, initiative. Oh my God, initiative. This is a huge thing for me. It's free. Initiative is free. You can take it. You can take initiative all the time. It's available to all of us. And yet we are all guilty of not tapping into it, at least at some point or another, but often all the time. And I don't even know how to describe what I mean by initiative, but it's so clear when I see it. And it's like, that reminds me of the Ted Lasso quote, what is offside? It's hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. And it is hard to explain because it's the thing I'm doing all day long, and I don't know how to tell you how to be this way, which is to take initiative, to do something, to try something, to make yourself useful, to empty the dishwasher without being asked, because it's easy to empty a dishwasher. Like many things, initiative is an art and not a science, because here's the thing, and this happened in our interview process. If you take too much initiative, people will think that you're being presumptuous, right? There was one that I was like, you have done too much there. It's too much ego in this thing. Almost everybody errs on the side of not, like 99.999999% of people err on the side of not taking enough initiative all of the time. And this, again, taking initiative, it goes right back to the stand out just a little bit. Right? We're all so afraid of being embarrassed that we don't want to take initiative. We don't want someone to yell at us, but wait, what are you doing over there? Oh, sorry, I just thought no, we don't, blah, 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 right? We're all afraid of that being called out, so we don't take initiative. And back to the presumptuous part, I think if you're taking initiative with no ego, then you are likely hitting the right balance, right? Because of course, let's be honest, this is my studio. I'm an expert at this. I have been doing it for decades. I have everything laid out exactly the way I want. I know exactly what I want. It would be presumptuous of you to come in here and try to tell me what to do. I get that. But no one is going to be mad if, when you have run out of explicit instructions, you sweep the floor and take out the trash. Those are things that have no ego and 100% initiative if you haven't been asked to do it. And so I think that it's the ego. That's an important point that I'm just kind of like realizing right here. If initiative plus ego is off-putting because it's presumptuous, but initiative that is egoless, right? Initiative that is willing to be a janitor right now because everything always needs to be cleaned up, or some uncomfortable task or some annoying task taken care of, that is gold. It's just golden. And, all of this about initiative, it falls right in line with my constant refrain to be earnest, right? Because earnestness is egoless, or it's hubris, right? It's braggadocio, or it's like puffy chestedness. But when you just believe in something and you're excited about it, then you're willing to sweep the floor and take out the trash or do the dishes for that thing. And I just think it's so simple. It's not easy though. It's not easy. It takes courage to not worry about being embarrassed and to take initiative and to be earnest. It's totally possible for every single person, but it's not without risk. And the risk is that you might feel that red flush in your face of embarrassment and a teensy bit of shame when some jerkwad calls you out for doing more. But the people who you want to work with will be so thankful for that. And the people who you don't want to work with are the ones who are going to yell at you for sweeping the floor when you know what I mean? It makes perfect sense to me. The kind of boss you want to work for is going to notice those things and going to be thankful for them and going to promote you because of them, as opposed to, hey, well, you're doing something other than what you were told to. Blah, 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 blah. That's a fun sound to make. Blah, 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 blah. Be kind. Be earnest. Take initiative. Have integrity. Eat the right things and get enough sleep. You can make a really awesome life just by following those rules. Maybe even a legendary life by following those rules. How many are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. Be kind, be earnest, take initiative, have integrity, eat right, and get enough sleep. I would hire that person. Have a great week. Let's see. Let's get the punchline of the dad joke of the week. Oh, some of you are going to hate this. I told my friend 10 puns to make him laugh. Sadly, no pun intended. Some of you are angry right now about that punchline. That makes me happy, right? The worst thing is no reaction at all. The next best thing is for people to be angry, and the best thing is for people to be happy. But the worst thing is no reaction at all. Okay, look. It is a spectacular September week. It is the 7th of September today. You have just a few months before the end of the year. And that is all the time in the world and no time at all. So make use of it. I don't know what you need to make. I don't know what you need to do, but jump off the cliff and go soaring for a minute. Take some initiative. Be earnest. Have integrity. I believe that you can do amazing things. So if you needed someone to believe in you today, it is me. Go do it. I can't wait to live in the world that you are going to create with your earnestness and with your initiative and with your integrity. Have a great week.